Think respiration, think energy. When we talk about the process of respiration in biology, we are actually talking about a chemical process which is taking place in all living cells. Before we move on to learning about what this process of respiration is all about, we need to remember that breathing should not be confused with respiration. We need to remember that breathing is merely a part of respiration but not entirely the process of respiration. The concept of respiration is central to all living processes. Why, you may ask? Well, we'll learn about it all in the next couple of slides. We all know that all living cells are made up of chemical substances. When I say chemical substances, I'm also talking about reactions. The processes of living involve reactions between the substances. You also will know that a reaction is an event which produces a change in a substance. So for example, a reaction between carbon and oxygen, such as burning coal in air, changes the carbon in the coal and the oxygen in the air into carbon dioxide. You see that represented by this equation C plus O2 giving CO2. C representing carbon, O2 for oxygen and CO2 which is carbon dioxide. During this reaction where an atom of carbon combines with a molecule of oxygen, there is something really important happening. What happens is that energy is released in the form of heat and light. Living organisms get their energy from reactions like this. Of course, we are not talking about violent reactions, but we are talking about energy from this reaction, which is what we use for doing all our daily activities. This picture depicts the reaction between carbon and oxygen. You know that coal and wood are sources of carbon. Coal or wood will combine with oxygen and what is released is carbon dioxide and energy. The carbon dioxide goes up the chimney. The word respiration is used in everyday language to mean breathing. For example, we talk about respiration rate or we talk about breathing rate. But in biology, it is best to avoid this confusion by using the term respiration for the chemical reaction in all living cells. So, what is respiration? Respiration is a chemical reaction that takes place in all living cells. And what is this chemical reaction? It is a reaction that takes place between oxygen and any substance which contains carbon. This reaction produces carbon dioxide and water and of course releases the most important energy. Well, you may ask, where does this carbon and oxygen come from? The carbon containing substances come from food that we eat. The oxygen comes from the air that we inhale and the energy that is given out can be used to drive other chemical reactions that are taking place inside our cells. We will look at a few examples of how this energy is used in the next slide. The reason I mention oxygen coming from air or water is that for organisms living in water, they will actually absorb the oxygen which is dissolved in the water. So where does the energy get used? The energy gets used during all the chemical changes in cells. The energy is used for cell division. The energy is used for germination. The energy is also used in muscle contraction. These are just a few examples. But if you think about it, every living process in living organisms will need energy from respiration. This is an explanation of how energy is used by muscles. As you know, this is a picture of our arm showing the biceps and the triceps. The bloodstream brings food and oxygen to the muscle cells. So respiration, the chemical process, occurs in the cells and releases energy. Now can you guess what this energy will be used for? That's right, to make the muscle contract. So what happens when the biceps contract? The arm is pulled up. If you look at this picture, it actually talks about how the digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system, muscular system and the skeletal system are all interacting with each other. Step 1, we inhale in air, we eat food, and then the lungs absorb oxygen from the air that we inhaled, and the stomach and intestine digest the food that we ate. One of the products is glucose, which is basically sugar. After that, the bloodstream carries glucose and oxygen to the muscles. Glucose and oxygen react to produce energy for muscle contraction. Carbon dioxide, which is released, is carried to the lungs by the blood. Can you name every single body system that will be involved for each step? Try. So, summary of this topic would be to think about energy when we think about respiration. Respiration is an extremely important chemical process taking place in all living cells. Every living process in living organisms needs energy from respiration. Breathing is merely one of the steps involved in the process of respiration and must not be confused with the actual process of respiration itself.